I give the stage first to Tomas. Huge thanks for Tomas to agreeing and coming here. I remember even I think when we first met, we talked that it would be so cool to invite you to GameOn and talk about this topic in one way or another. So after 5 years it happened because of this gap. So at least we can address this, and yeah, the situation is, I guess, has a lot of angles right now, and yeah, will be very interesting to listen. So I'll leave Tomas to introduce everyone else, and let's welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Certainly a lot of things has changed in the past 5 years in the industry. And certainly a lot of things have shifted, probably even in the last couple of years. So I think the idea of this panel and the idea of this discussion is to try to bring some positivity into everything that's going on in the industry. And that's what we're calling the session. Essentially rebuilding the game, and we're going to use our perspectives from HR and talent acquisition to bring, I guess, more light into the situation. So the industry has been facing a lot of challenges in the past 2 years. So obviously there's been layoffs, there's been lack of investment, companies shutting down and everything else. But at the same time, I feel like there's been some positivity as well, especially in Lithuania. There's companies that are hiring. There are companies that are being opened up in different countries and different regions. People like setting up their own studios. So I think there's still some sort of light and positivity around this. So I'd like to introduce the other panelists today. So Renata Tilmantaitė. So Renata is the head of talent, or head of global talent acquisition at Wargaming. We have Gintarė Verbickaitė, and she's the CEO of Unicorns Lithuania. We have Viktorija Beinartaitė, and she is HR manager at Nordcurrent. And we have Tomek Majka. I hope I pronounced your name right. And he is the founder of Imponderabilia.
Yes.
I think you told us an interesting story. What does the name actually mean? So maybe you can actually share it with the audience to start with. I thought it was quite interesting.
Yeah, actually, the idea of the new company came from my son. Mickey is working for the industry for 12 years. And started as a tester in my company. Now he's head of production in some other companies. But we are running also Impo, which we call shortly. And I said, okay, we have to name it. Yeah, that's why we invented reverse recruitment and so on and so on. I said, it's too long. Let's call it Imponderabilia. I said, how it sounds, man. Yeah, but what does it really mean is these are tiny little things that can change someone's life. Yeah, small things that can change big things. And I said, wow, that really is a good name for the company that really wants to change not only someone's life but also change our lives.
Thank you for that. That was very interesting. Maybe just to start everyone off and just to start a discussion, I'd like everyone to share their own thoughts and their own opinion of sort of the current state of the industry, and maybe just reflecting the past 2 years as a whole, sort of what included layoffs in the industry, what included, I guess, the lack of investment, the whole industry downturn. What, in your opinion, were the lessons learned from the industry? What can we take away from it? And what can we do to build sort of a more sustainable future for the industry going forward? So we can start with you, Renata.
Okay. Try. I think, yeah, it's working. Okay, so what is happening with the gaming industry, what I noticed, I work in the gaming industry more than 3 years now, and it's actually slowing down. for sure, thanks to layoffs, thanks to that Tomas mentioned the lack of investment. So there are huge waves of like I think the need of the talent is still there. We are still struggling, even though people are being laid off in different countries, but doesn't mean that it's easier to hire. It's even more difficult to hire at the moment because people are more hesitant, they're looking for more stability, they don't want to have any changes. So I think in order to be stable as a gaming company, I think as Wargaming is, not to rush into things, not to rush into hiring or making fast decisions. So we are not rushing, for example, into overhiring, opening too many locations, and et cetera, et cetera. So this is my observation, what is actually happening and what we are doing. We are slowing down a little bit more, but still we are quite stable.
Good. Thank you for that. We can continue with you.
I was thinking that maybe I can sort of take a slightly different perspective. So prior to joining Unicorns Lithuania, which is a Lithuanian startup association, I worked for Invest Lithuania, and actually my team was one of the makers and movers in helping to attract more international game development companies to set up in Lithuania. There were some initial effort around 2015, 2016, and we had some companies that set up, but the biggest move was around 2020, 2022, when we had a really significant relocation, Wargaming including, mostly from Belarus, but the talent really came from everywhere. And as a result, when we tried to count or sort of calculate the industry in Lithuania, it sort of tripled in a couple of years by the numbers of people employed, the companies, the value that they created. So I think from Lithuania's perspective, we were in a slightly different position, that, sort of it's relatively niche sector has really significantly grown by very experienced, very creative talent that came to Lithuania and really started to build the products here. So I think for Lithuania, the past years were not as bad, compared to the global tendencies. But of course, games industry is by nature global, so the impact is of course felt here. And also, I would probably repeat that the sentiment of the companies was the same. Although they were not struggling, they were much more cautious about their growth and plans to hire.
What do you think, just to continue with this, what do you think made Lithuania an attractive region for the companies like Wargaming and other companies to come here and establish themselves here? And also, sort of moving forward and kind of keeping in mind the idea that Lithuania has enough capacity and has enough room to employ more talents, why it's so difficult to attract talent here and to relocate them here? So
when companies were choosing where to relocate, they, of course, took into account a lot of various aspects and business environment in general, competitiveness of the tax regime, government support, and of course, on top of all of it, is talent. Lithuania, unfortunately, in the game development sector, was not scoring high when it came to the talent, the quantity of the talent, because, as I said, the industry was relatively small, although producing some really creative, amazing games. But the potential to grow talent is huge, and we've seen with some internal academies, with some universities and schools, coding schools, that sort of shifted a little bit towards the gaming, so to cater for the needs of the industry. So I think the creativity and the quality of the talent was obvious even in those years back, and also something that I heard from a related industry, from our movies industry. They were actually not very happy with the game companies that came over to Lithuania, because they actually drawn some talents from movies industry, especially in post-production, into their companies. And movie making industry in Lithuania is also quite booming. So I hope that, maybe there's more crossovers here as well.
Let's hope so. Okay, so just going back to the first question, Viktorija. What, in your thoughts, are sort of the more important lessons that the industry should learn from the situation we're in at the moment? Maybe there's something that you're currently doing at Nordcurrent, being an example of stability and currently hiring actively, that you can potentially sort of teach other studios or other companies?
Sorry. Yeah, in my opinion, we are stable and succeeding because we are always very careful about our hiring. We were never rushing things. We do all our hiring in-house, and we pay a lot of attention not only to the technical skills of candidates, but also to organizational fit. So we have very little turnover, and we are a little by little growing each year.
Nice, thank you. Thanks for that. Over to you, Tomek.
Okay, in the morning, I was talking a little bit about the lessons that needs to be learned, and the industry lesson is, first of all, we are not a baby any longer. We are part of a global economy, so we need to behave as grown-ups. And for the Lithuanian game dev industry, I would say don't follow the Polish mistakes and don't go with acromegalia and growth disease hormone. Don't go too far, too fast. Just think, yeah, and refer to global economy, and don't base on the stock exchange with the financing, because it can ruin the industry.
I probably would like to dive deeper a bit into that. It seems like there's some more things to uncover about the situation in Poland. So, just from your perspective, then, what actually happened in the Polish industry? Why do you think some companies overhired? Why do you think some companies were touched by this sort of layoff situation? And maybe what lessons should the Lithuanian developers kind of take from that?
The major thing in Poland about the boom in the industry was when the companies started to jump into the getting financing from the capital market on the Warsaw Stock Exchange, and the difference in understanding of the game development among investors. Okay, the understanding of the game development among investors is more or less at the same as developers understands the capital market. Means none. Yeah. So that's why there is a clash, and everyone who wants to make games was creating a company, wanted going it to public, and getting money, and understanding that getting financing is not a cheap money, but there has to be payback sometime in the future, is something very important, and a lot of companies didn't understand, so they didn't deliver. So having 670 studios in Poland and almost 18,000 people work in the industry with a 12%, over 12% of the total man count fired over the last 2 years, it means that basically something is wrong with the system. So we need to clean it up. And actually that's why which is not very popular, as you can imagine, I am saying that it's a good time to clean up and refresh the industry. And the other thing that we have been talking in the corridor as well is that industry is getting older. People who are making games are getting older, and we are not getting the new fresh blood with the passionate and determined people who wants to make games. The Generation Z does not want to do it in the way we did it in the past. So we have to turn over the 2019-2020 quantitative approach in terms of hiring into qualitative approach of hiring. And of course I understand that there were thousands of people hired because there was someone wanted to hire, so I just get the job, yeah? The gameplay programmer who just get interviewed and said, do you know Unreal? Yes, I know. Okay, you are hired. Yeah, it's not working this way. Yeah, so we need to refresh also the people who are working with the industry, because not everyone can do it. Yeah.
Gintarė, you had a question or a comment?
No, I wanted to add actually that because I definitely see a huge difference in the way game development startups and companies work. Their production cycles, their revenue cycles are very, very different compared to any other tech companies. And I definitely agree that when it comes to raising finance, whether with risk capital or on stock exchange, or through other means, the game development companies have to understand that they need to find investors who understand their business and who are a bit more patient with their capital compared to some traditional tech startup, let's say. And so it's definitely, there is a gap of that understanding, and I think something that we pushed in Lithuania quite hard for was to get funding to have the games accelerator and the game investment fund specifically for the games companies, because as I said, traditional investors, they don't really understand it that well. So.
But on the other hand, we have to also teach the industry how the capital and the investment, how money works, how economy works, because we don't do it, and we usually are thinking and we are concentrating on the art, coding, production, but at the end of the day, we need to earn money on it. Yeah, we are not making games for pleasure, but for pleasure and living is cost.
True. I mean, it's a risky thing. Talking about investors as well, I think I had a conversation with somebody recently that they said that some of the investors, when they invest money in the companies, they also come with an idea of what game the companies should be making, and instead of sort of going with an idea of the founder of the company, they try and bring their own ideas, and sometimes that ends up in a failure, because of that. Renata, also just talking about Wargaming situation. Obviously, you guys are a large studio, but you are still independent or independently run.
Yes.
How and just sort of trying to understand, how did you guys manage to navigate this whole situation of downturn of the industry and layoffs, and if being an independent company helped you, and if so, how did it help you, and in what way? To essentially come out maybe even stronger from the situation that we're in at the moment?
I think being as a private equity and having one owner has like pluses and minuses, of course. We have one decision maker. But at the same time, everything is inside of the company. We are currently creating quite a few new games. Hopefully we will be able to communicate a little bit more next year. But everything is done inside of the company with the current resources, because we have almost 4,000 employees globally. We are shifting our focus, we're prioritizing, and we are trying to do everything that is possible inside of the company. So this is what I see as a plus, having one owner, because usually what I noticed, at least from the current situation in the gaming industry, that investors, those of course who do not understand the business, they make a decision like, you need to cut the headcount, and that's it. Like, they don't care what kind of consequences they will have, or they make a decision, well, you need to develop that game in that time frame. That means that you need to hire more people. So, you know, they are making decisions. We have an owner who actually created World of Tanks. So he actually knows the stuff. So I think this gives us like more pluses.
Yeah, he understands how painful it can be to create a game like this, and how much time it can take, and how many resources. Which, you know, I can understand that. Viktorija, do you feel like you can contribute to that as well? I mean, given that Nordcurrent as well is sort of an independent company as well, and did you guys kind of see the similar?
Yeah, we also are private equity, and we are very lucky to have owners who are big game lovers. They created their games and they are still playing it. I think what helps us a lot is that our company has lots and lots of experience. We have been in Lithuania for over 20 years, so we have faced many crises, many changes, economic situations, and we already have experience how to navigate this.
Thanks for that. Gintarė, I want to continue with you, and I wanted to dive into more of a startup situation. And obviously, now given the amount of layoffs that the industry has faced, there's a lot of people that are looking for work. And I think we discussed it as well, that one of the maybe hopefully positive outcomes of this would be the fact that there will be more and more independent studios that are opening up. Either people who have a good idea and develop their own games, so they receive the funding, or they perhaps partner up with publishers to build their own games. And I just wanted to understand, for example, in Lithuania, what is the support network for them? What do you know about a support network that these potentially like young companies can receive globally? And maybe what can the tech industry teach the gaming industry? How to sort of support each other in that space?
A lot of difficult questions.
Sorry.
But no, but it's actually a very interesting angle, because I think, when the door closes, the window opens. And when I talk to audiences like that, I always encourage, if you don't have mortgage, go ahead and try and build your own business. And what worse can happen? You may fail, but you will learn a lot along the way. So I think it's an opportunity, and all big studios, they've grown up from some indie developers that had this game in their mind, and had passion, believed in that, and worked hard. So I think it's great if we can have more of independent developers, more smaller studios, more teams that maybe are not formally structured, but just work on something that they are passionate about. To be honest, there are no specific structures as such that specifically games startups can tap into, because again, it's quite a specific projects that they are working on. But I would say that accelerators would be the first thing to look at, and they run in different timings, but probably twice a year I would say it's possible to get on an accelerator either here or internationally, and depending where the team is, or maybe working remotely. So I would say that's probably the best way. Also I would say, I don't know, but this is something that I know that some of the companies or developers are doing, being open that you're building something. So get instant feedback from potential users, maybe a crowdfund part of your game development. Just be creative about how you can move on with your project. Yeah, I think, just try.
Sure. I mean, talking about crowdfunding as well, I came across a few situations recently where the studios had to lay off people because the deal with the publisher crashed, and basically, instead of kind of going under, they tried raising money on Kickstarter and they succeeded. So there's a few stories like that, which is certainly one of the ways that you can find funding and do that. Tomek, I wanted to ask you, what's the independent or indie development scene looking like in Poland? What are your thoughts on that? Did you come across a lot of new studios that are potentially opening up and hiring?
Okay, the last 3 years that I run this recruitment boutique, by definition, I was working with the mid and small size studios. Yeah? I decided not to work with Big Five for purpose. So, yeah, still, despite such big numbers that are in Poland in terms of the number of entities, still new are open. And are opened by the veterans from CDP, Techland, and other companies, and are getting funding from Tencent, from NetEase or other, and it's not the small funding. We are talking about millions, yeah? And they are growing their studios, and now there are 20, which they started with 5, 6, and after 3 months there are 50, yeah, because someone trusted, gave them money, and they are doing. And the indie scene is slightly different, because from my perspective, it has been basically ruined to some extent by the couple of big companies that were investing in the smaller indie studios, and they were working on the very funny model, like checking the wishlist based on the trailer, and then if the wishlist was not good enough after the trailer, the studio was closed. And the people were fired. So I would say it's getting more professionalized in terms of the indie scene. This history is now over, and then another lessons learned. Let's don't trust them. But it's more professionalized, and even the newcomers are opening their own studio. There is usually someone with experience and someone with the titles released that they can run in the studio and help to do it. And it's not only the new people coming and they want to do it, but also putting some structures and some procedures and doing the stuff properly.
And Renata, so I just wanted to go back to Wargaming and you guys. For those people who don't necessarily want to create their own studios straight out of university and want to go into the path of joining perhaps a bigger studio like yourselves and want to continue on their journey with you, are there any kind of internship programs or accelerator programs perhaps running within your company that allow young people to enter the industry that way? Is it something perhaps that you thought about or that you...
Yes, we actually do. We call it, at least at the moment, VG Forge. It was launched 2017, so it's active quite a few years now and really, really successful. And it was created with the goal, as Tomek mentioned, that people are getting old So we need to, think about the future. So we want to grow people, so those who can actually change, those who will go or will retire or open their own studio. So we have courses and internships. So courses are the unpaid 3 months course just to get that information, that knowledge that is missing in order to join the gaming industry. Because it's really, really different from what people are being taught at universities and academies, or even like coming from indie gaming, coming to AAA gaming studio. There is always something missing that you cannot like fully come to the junior role or mid role or senior role. So courses are designed for that, to get more information, more knowledge, what is happening at Wargaming, how we're doing, quality assurance, how the software engineering is working, live ops, and all those kind of things. After that, we're selecting the best people who are ready for the internship. So it's already paid for 6 months with opportunity to stay within the company. So our goal is to give as much as possible, give to the society, and of course, keep those people inside the company. So we are launching these programs in Cyprus, in Lithuania, in Serbia, and in Czech Republic. A little bit different approach is in UK. So hopefully we will launch in many more countries where we have offices, but I think this is one of the way how to bring the talent, not to focus just on those seniors, because it's extremely difficult actually to hire seniors and then convince them to come to Lithuania. So this is the issue, and I think one of the things why Lithuania was chosen by Wargaming, because of the future talent, the really, really strong people at universities, the academies, and etc. So this was the goal. Everybody knew that we will not hire really senior people, managers coming from gaming studios, right, in Lithuania, because, well, we don't have that environment at the moment. So this was the goal, and that's what we're doing at the moment.
And looking into the future, what do you think are the skills that are required for people who want to enter the industry and want to remain and grow in it? What maybe are the skill set that you focused on teaching on more? Like what is the knowledge that's sort of being shared, and which areas should people be focusing on more?
So the main disciplines that we are focusing on, those where we need the most people. So it's quality assurance, software engineering. Live ops is overall quite difficult discipline to hire because it's not always clear what it is, because at universities you will not find that discipline. So we understand that it's really like niche discipline. That's why creating the specific material, the online material for the people who want to actually learn. Data analysis, because even from my hiring experience, I thought it will be easy in Lithuania to hire data analysts, because we have amazing university programs and everything. Data analysis at Wargaming, at least, is totally different from what we have in Lithuania's market. So that's why we're creating programs. We have internships where we actually are teaching what it's like to work with the data in the gaming company. So these are the main, I would say, at least at the moment, the focus areas, and probably it will stay for some time. For, if not courses, internships, so marketing, of course, community management, but in Lithuania, at least for now, we are not launching that. We are focusing on the other locations, but hopefully Lithuania will be a focus too.
Got you. Thanks for that. Viktorija, I wanted to have to ask you a question about the candidate experience and candidate communication, and what does the Nordcurrent do in order to create sort of the best candidate experience for them? The reason I'm asking this is because in my experience working as a recruiter, especially this year, in some of the gaming companies, actually maybe a lot of them, I've been seeing a trend where HR teams, they are sort of overwhelmed with the amount of applications they receive and amount of time they need to take to respond to people. At the same time, some of the internal teams are being reduced. Therefore, the workload, is even higher. That reflects into the time to hire, the time it takes to sort of hire a new person, to respond to them, and the candidate experience suffers. So I just wanted to understand, how do you take approach to create sort of the best candidate experience at Nordcurrent? What do you do in order to, consistently stay at high level and maybe even improve it further?
Yeah, that's quite a difficult question because it's quite complex. First of all, of course, we keep a constant contact with our candidates, even if our interview processes are quite long. As I mentioned, we are quite careful when we are hiring, and we are not rushing. We still keep in touch and explain the candidates every step and what the candidate can expect during the process. Also, we invite to interviews our technical people who know very well their field. So that candidates not only are questioned of their experience, etc., but they can also hear the perspective from our specialists. And I believe that's one of the things that our candidates are most thankful for, because they also get some knowledge and insights from interview process.
Thanks for that. Thank you. Tomek, how do you think the candidate experiences, or the experience they have, sort of interviewing with companies, might affect the future communication between sort of companies and people, in the sense that, obviously at the moment the market is completely shifted, and what people call sort of employer market, or the company's market, and they might choose, which person they want to hire. How should companies approach that in terms of sort of more of a long-term thinking?
This is one of the reasons that I, by definition, quit the big five of the Polish game dev industry. From what I know, and from this experience that I have in recruiting 137 people, actually, the most important is honesty. How do their experience affect the studio? A lot. Because we don't have now on the market only the newcomers who are coming. But we have on the market people with experience who has been fired or looking for the new job. So their perspective on the hiring process is completely different, and they are expecting a little bit more respect than newcomers. And of course, newcomers also need respect. But definitely, if we will be treating those people not properly, let's call it, let's treating them like a cell in the spreadsheet, they will remember it. And remember, everyone, Germany, Lithuania, England, this is a bloody small industry, and immediately the experience will be shared between their colleagues. And I've been talking to Rokas how to build the community, and the first layer is the friends, colleagues, meetups, and this is the foundation of the industry. And the structures are built on this one. And if you treat your candidate like you will use the power of employer, the situation will be spread immediately. They are so gossiping, and but but on the other hand, let's go back to my presentation. There is a cycle. Yeah. So sometime in the future, the employee market will come back. Yeah. And you will be asking people to join your company, and they will tell you, "Oh no, thank you." Yeah. So, yeah, it will affect. It will really affect, especially the industry like this, which is very built on relations.
Thank you for that. No, I totally agree. I think companies should be thinking about it all the time, and the candidate experience is highly important. Gintarė, I had a question for you as well. Obviously, your experience, you have a lot of experience working with startups and startup companies, not necessarily just in the games industry, but also in tech. Have you seen the shift, perhaps, in the past few years in startups hiring more, perhaps, of like freelance or contract workers, maybe at least in the beginning of the journey? And is that important? Like, have you seen maybe the growth of it, or maybe the reduction of it? And how important is it for companies to maybe stay flexible in a sense that maybe some of them don't want to grow too big too fast. They might want to rely on sort of contract force or freelance force in the beginning in order to have a more stable growth in the future.
Yeah, I think there's definitely sort of pros and cons to consider, and if you have a core team and everyone's working on a project, you don't need to incorporate straight away and get the admin and other additional expenses while you're still working. But of course, at some point, even if you want to go to an accelerator, you have to incorporate, and so it has to come at a certain point. But I think the smart way for startups is to keep the expenses as low as possible. And be nimble, and really sometimes that means to contract, to engage with freelancers, with partners, maybe to outsource, but be very careful about what you keep inside the core team and inside the company if you started to build it, and what you outsource and how you manage and protect as well. So I think there's no one recipe, but there are a lot of options that have to be thought through. And I think, sometimes startups, they just, want to go really fast and break things. But sometimes it's good to stop and think about the structure, about the legal documents. If you don't have the competences within the team, there are definitely advisors, even lawyers who specialize advising startups just to set the things right in the beginning. And then for the later stage, I think also what I see a lot in game development and in tech companies as well. So I think companies tend to prefer having team hired and maybe just outsource or have contractors in some specific cases. And there are quite a few reasons for doing that, but a lot about being really as a team and tackling the challenges and being there for the longer run, which we know that it takes time to build something big. So yeah, I would say that there's a tendency to keep in-house.
Absolutely, yeah. It takes time to build good things. Do you hire a lot of contractors, Renata, at Wargaming, or a lot of freelancers? How do you
Not really. We do have vendors with whom we are working on the specific projects. Because we know that it's temporary assignment, we don't see that in the long run that we will need so many people. So this is our thinking in a more cautious way. We are outsourcing usually the 3D artists, roles, because sometimes we just need them a lot. But our focus is actually to have internal team.
I was wondering if there's any questions from the audience, from the panelists. I don't know if anyone had a question. There's a few. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, thank you very much for the discussion so far. I have two questions. So the first one is a little bit more open-ended. What advice would you have to somebody looking to get into the industry while keeping in mind the current climate?
I can actually start probably. If you want to join the industry, I think the main point, and that's what we are telling to our future students, future people, like many people are reaching out to me and asking like, well, I have this experience, what I can actually do next. So I think we're all adults, right? So I think you need to understand which area you would like to choose. If you are not sure, I think these kind of events, they're really good. Go explore to learn a little bit more. We as a Wargaming, we have our own XP booth. We will have next week, by the way. So it's really great opportunity also to meet people and discuss and ask the right questions. But if you want to join, you have to know at least which way you want to move. Is it art? Is it design, engineering? So even for recruitment, it will be easier to advise, like what to read, where to go. So I think this is the main advice for everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much. And the second question, and here I would like if each speaker could note down one key aspect you are looking for when hiring new talent. Thank you.
Good question. I will give a really cheesy answer probably. Well, it is actually in our slogan probably. It's a passion for the game, for the gaming industry, for games. You have to be interested in that. Of course, depends on the role, depends on the area. For example, for HR, it's really good and big plus that you like gaming and you do play games. But if you're going to quality assurance, if you're going to design, you have to love the games. And it's shown actually during the time, the result, Wargaming is alive for 26 years. So there's a reason, because we have a lot of passionate people.
Gintarė, Viktorija?
Okay, as Renata already told the first answer, which came to my head. Sorry. The second thing would be motivation. As when a person does not have a necessary experience or skills, the thing which he can bring is with burning eyes, motivation, be prepared to answer why are you looking for this position, why are you interested in that company, and that means a lot.
Oh, hello. I would say one thing, the communication, and the answering the question, asking the question, the making guesses is a team effort, and basically the communication is something which I appreciate most. So if the person is ready to communicate with me as a recruiter, is something that is the most important.
Anyone else would like to contribute?
Maybe I can add one more thing. Before you choose, your path, to go to the gaming industry, think about the genre. Like, think about the company or specific games that are interesting for you. Is it the similar games as Wargaming? If not, think about that too, because it's also really important.
Any other questions from the audience?
Cool. I'll be the AI guy. Do you see Gen AI or large language models affecting hiring plans or needs now or in the near future in game companies?
At least I don't see at the moment.
Not at all. Nobody.
No.
Yeah. No. Cool. That's what I was kind of hoping for. So.
It's interesting that you said no, because across the board, when we talk about tech in general, AI is definitely eating someone's lunch. So I don't know whether it's the game industry that's not caught up yet, but I think that's definitely something that we have to consider.
Recruiters like to talk to people and listen their answers.
Yeah, recruiters will not be changed here because hiring managers will have to make decisions on their own.
Cool.
I think when it comes to AI, like you should definitely use AI to nowadays to support yourself in work. I mean, it certainly can automate some stuff that you do anyway on a daily basis. I think that's for everybody, whether you're working in recruitment, whether you're working in tech, or I don't know, in any other roles. But yeah, as far as like fully replacing it, I don't know, don't see it happening yet. Maybe at some point in
not soon
dark
enough.
future.
I don't believe that it will happen soon. Yes, we are involving like many different solutions, tools to help out. But to remove the job that we are doing, or even the roles that we are hiring for, at the moment I don't see that.
We are not hiring AIs, we are hiring people, so...
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, you got one question about people trying to get into industry. I just wanted to ask about people like trying to return to it, just if had to quit for health reasons or whatever. It's just now it seems like a very competitive environment, and even if you like got a matching requirements for like position, there's still gonna be, I assume, tons of people, because it's just, yeah, it's really, how can you actually make up for it if just seems the environment is rather too competitive?
I think we're becoming a little bit more open-minded with the years, and we are trying to ask the right questions and understand what happened, why there's a gap. But I think we do have a lot of people who left even Wargaming. They went to non-gaming companies, and they still can't come back, because even at Wargaming is quite a big company. We do not have just product teams. We have the, as we call it, like service teams, right? So they don't care about the gaming experience or not. So you can actually come back. So I think we have to be, all of us, like more open-minded. It's the same about the women who are going on maternity leave. They also, have a gap. So, well, who cares? They're doing another job, right? So they're getting another experience. So we're not, we're not that strict. We pay a lot of attention to the reasons, what happened, what you have now, and what you can actually bring now. Because, well, probably you got something else that you can actually be useful for.
But you have also to understand that the market is competitive and will not be less competitive in the future. That's life, basically.
My advice maybe is generic for any applicants. Try to find a way to stand out, and it can be, maybe some idea or a mock-up for, for the game that, you're applying, for the company that you're applying for, or some other creative ways to stand out, to sort of, just, in the process, there are ways, sort of not being too pushy, but bringing out creativity and showing why you think you would be a good fit to the company. So it's a generic advice, but I think it works.
Another thing, do not lose connections. This is, really important thing. Like keep the circle.
I got one. I said this is relations and gossiping and everything. So to make your living in this industry, you have to have friends and relations. Yeah?
Yes.
To get out, come back. I was a waiter for 2 years after I lost the company. Yeah. So knowing people, actually making friends, going to meetups, having a beer or Coke, basically doing everything to stay in touch with the industry. This is something that is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I mean, I can only relate to everything that people said. Relationships, being able to stand out. Yeah, I mean, I guess if your gap is quite big, and if you have reasons why you are away from the industry, sometimes when you apply for positions, it's important maybe to make companies understand, why, the reason why. You can either write it in your CV or maybe in a cover letter. Don't get too carried away with it, but as long as you kind of explain the reasoning behind it, maybe that's something that would be helpful for you as well. I don't know if there's any other questions.
There was one here.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm coming from contemporary art and visual art field, and in the field artists are increasingly experimenting with game engines in the way they do with paint, steel or clay. And I wonder if any of you had any experiences of hiring or collaborating with artists or people who have no maybe intention in staying with the game industry. However, they do possess this unorthodox, out-of-the-box thinking and creativity in general. Or more broadly speaking, do you have some sort of experimental R&D programs that tries to hire or collaborate with people coming from outside of the gaming industry that might be of value in unpredictable ways?
We do have really small R&D team at the moment. It's more based in Cyprus, so I actually don't know about their projects at the moment. But if we're talking about the things that you mentioned, right, we do experiment for sure. What we are paying attention, of course, to the portfolio. We are looking for outside of the box, depending, of course, on the product, because we have different products. Not everybody is accepting, like too outside of the box, but we like creative people, and we hired not one and not two people not from gaming industry because of that.
Anyone else wants to contribute to this? I think from my perspective as well, just to maybe answer this question from a bit of a different angle. So as a recruiter, sometimes a hiring manager would come to me and they say like, okay, let's say we're looking for, I don't know, a level designer, a 3D artist or a gameplay programmer. And naturally, first thing you do, you go either through your contact list or through LinkedIn and you look for people that have similar job title or have done a similar thing. But sometimes by looking and searching for people, you might come across somebody who sort of done something similar, but they also have a super interesting background that I think would be a great fit for the company. So, try and maybe influence the hiring manager in that sort of way to perhaps introduce that profile for the different reasons, and sometimes it works. So.
Yeah, we do actually tend to explore ArtStation. So, it's not necessarily, related to LinkedIn and your titles. So if you're mentioning at least like one keyword, the concept art or something, and then we're like going through every portfolio. Yes, it takes a lot of time, but this is our job. So portfolio is the key.
And sometimes the companies are creating the position if they find the right person. If they believe that the person is them, that's the one, yeah? And they don't even thought about it. Okay, let's create something to get this person, yeah? And these are usually the creative positions.
Any additional questions? By the way, do we still have time?
We should finish. Let's do like a last question.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay,
it's more of a continuation to like the previous question. Like if you're actually looking for willing to hire some people outside of the industry, how is it important for like that type of like artists to actually know the pipeline and the workflows of the how is the game being created? Because I don't know, I feel like if a person wants to work in the game industry, it is quite important to actually know the pipeline of how the game is created. And if you're hiring a person from outside the game industry, how does it affect, or like is it like that important, or like maybe there are like some rare cases where it's like, oh, actually it's not that important to us. So like,
I think it depends on the level of the role that we're looking for to hire. So if it's a junior, of course, it would be nice to have probably, that knowledge, but you have to also understand that companies, they also have expectations, but on the certain level. So if it's like mid-level, senior level role, we expect many more things and maybe sometimes too much. But if it's junior or even the internship that I mentioned, so definitely it's a big plus. So it's not a must thing. It's a big plus. At least I can say from my perspective.
Anyone wants to contribute?
Yeah, I agree with that, because many of our junior artists came with no experience of the pipelines and development process.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as the studio is big enough, where there is support that you can get from senior developers, and if they're hiring for a junior role, I think you should try and apply. So I think we're gonna end this, right? So thank you so much for coming over, and I appreciate you spending your time with us. Thank you for all the panelists, and yeah, I hope you all have a really nice weekend and a Friday.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for everyone. Thanks a lot for Tomas. I didn't even mention that Tomas traveled from Spain. I think he's the furthest guest who traveled to GameOn, although he's Lithuanian. So thanks a lot for this. I hope we'll have some time to spend in next days. So this closes today's program in the conference.